Hey YouTube. So it's, I don't know, I think Wednesday morning. Anyway, it's near the end of October and we woke up this morning and these temperatures are much closer to what it normally is this time of the year. So, you know, a lesson or a word to the wise is to get your stuff put away soon. Because usually what happens in Pennsylvania here, at least where I live, is that we end up with a rainstorm that turns into an ice storm and it coats everything. So I think what I'm going to do is I brought this log over from my friend's place. I'm going to cut this into some planks, thin planks, and I'm going to use them to cover the bed so that I can easily shovel off anything, or if there's ice on it I can just remove the wood if I need to use this in the winter time. So I'll be doing that a little bit later, but today's video is about something different. You know, for months now I've been talking about how I like the sawmill, but this video isn't about what I like. This is a 4-month review of the Woodmizer LT15, and it's what I don't like and what has annoyed me. And I gotta tell you in advance, it's not a big deal, but I'm going to go through this anyway. Here's the number one thing that I think has annoyed me more than anything else. This is the water tank or the lube tank, whatever you want to call it, and I got no problem with it. Even the height of it, it's a little bit in a high spot, but that's okay because you can stand on the frame there to get at it. So it's not an issue as far as the height of nothing goes. What annoys me about this thing is, let me just get up here. What annoys me about this is this freaking little cap here. If you don't loosen this cap and vent this, you'll end up crushing, like you can see on the side there a little bit, you end up crushing the bottle. Now it's not a, you know, it doesn't break it or anything, but it just crushes it. So you need to open this cap in order to get the water to flow. And if you open the cap, as soon as you loosen it, the cap falls from vibrations. The cap falls, and the next thing you know, Bullseye had it in his mouth the other day walking around with it. So luckily he didn't chew it. So you know what, I figured why not fix this stuff right away, get it over with. And here's what we're going to do. I already got my tools here, so you don't have to wait for me to do all that. So what I figured I would do with this, I'll just show you my tools here, what I'm going to do. I got some string, I got a drill, I got a knife, and I got a torch. And you'll see where I'm headed with this. First of all, if you know anything about nylon, I don't know, can you guys see this? Let me get this a little higher. If you know anything about nylon string, it frays easily. So what I do with that is I take a torch and just heat that a little bit. And if you run it through your fingers real fast, you won't burn yourself, and it ends up so that the fibers stay together. Okay, you know what, I should be doing this by this gas tank, like I should be having a hole in my head. Alright, well anyway, that's over with. Alright, so the next thing I'm going to do then is I'm going to take this cap and I'm going to drill a hole through the middle of it. I guess I can get at this end better. Alright, so we got a hole in the cap. We're going to take the nylon string. I'm going to tie a bunch of knots in this sucker. Man, my hands are getting a little cold here. So just tie enough knots in there that it can't fall, that that lid can't come through. Okay, so that's good. put the drill down. And I'm gonna figure roughly I'm looking at, I don't know, maybe something about that long. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut that, and I'm gonna make a loop big enough for the cap to go through. Let me shine you up there. I guess you can see that. And then what I'm going to do with this, I'm going to put this through the handle part and put the lid through that, and I'm putting the lid back on. So now when I loosen the lid, it won't fall off. I don't mind using that lid, and the lid itself isn't annoying, but what's annoying is when it falls down on the ground and I gotta look for it. I didn't care for that. So, okay, that was a simple fix. Now, number 2 on my list, and bear with me now guys, let me zoom back. Let's see, number 2 on my list, oh, the handle for the dogs. Now I'm gonna just set you up here, and I'm gonna crank this down a little. Yeah. Alright, so let me go around here. Now this is something that I can't fix today because I really didn't put any thought into it. But here's what it is. You see this handle here? Now it slides back and forth, which is good. When it slides all the way through, you have the ability to put pretty good torque on whatever you're working with. Now, it's not an issue way up in here, but when you get down to the bottom there, let me see if the camera's looking at that. When you get down low and you're doing the last board or two, yeah, there you go. When you're down low and you're doing that last board or two, the handle tends to hit this little frame here, and it is, you know, there's no marks on my hand now, but and I'm not a freaking sissy. It's just that it's annoying because you end up hitting that. Now if you go halfway, you don't have that, but you also lose your ability to put torque on it when you go halfway. In fact, you're losing your ability to torque it by about 50% because you're losing the leverage that you would need on here. So this is something, I like this setup, and I certainly like the screw part because you can torque this better than what you can with a cam lock system. And I've had cam locks on other things, and I never like them because they either come loose or they bend or whatever. I like this. I like the Acme screw. I like the little setup they have with, you know, the thing you put on the end here to hold the board. I like it. But I'm just saying that this is sort of annoying. But I don't see any other way out of it at the moment. So for now, I'm just going to leave this. But it is annoying. But once you know it, then you tend to realize when you have to put this in the middle and not. So that's one little thing. But the dog works great. It holds great. It's easy to release. So, you know, you can't beat that. So that's just one thing that's good. Or annoying, I should say, not good. Okay. And then the other thing, and we're going to fix this, is I noticed the other day, we got to go back up, we got to come back in over here. Let me crank you up here. What I noticed the other day was this. Let me zoom in here. You see the screws on that cage that protect us poor unfortunate Americans who don't know any better from burning ourselves? Well, one of the screws there came loose. So I went into my garage where I have about, like, I don't know, I have screws that I swear my great-grandfather owned. But anyway, I found a screw that's the same thing. And what I'm going to do with this screw is I'm going to put ever so lightly some Permatex anti-seize on that thing, because heat, metal, mufflers, I don't know, you know what I mean? Everything always seems to go wrong with them. So I found the bolt, and I'm going to put that bolt in there. Whoop. Alright, so got that fixed. And while I was at it, I was checking these, and they were actually, two of them were loose, one of them was tight. So we're going to keep an eye on that just to make sure it's there. Really, if this cage wasn't here, it wouldn't matter one bit to me. However, not only is it, you know, for us not touching this, I suppose, but what's good about it is it would keep any hoses or anything from going against it. So I like it being on there. I think it should be on there, but for some reason the bolt came loose. So I put a little anti-seize on there. Now you might think the anti-seize won't keep the bolt from tightening, but I'm going to tell you, on one of my trucks I have aluminum wheels, and when you put a steel lug nut on an aluminum wheel, there's an interaction there that makes it so that the bolt won't come out, or the nut won't come off the lug. I used this anti-seize for years, and it stops stuff from getting to the point where you can't get it out. So that was number, let's see, on my list here, that was number 3. So what did that take about, I don't know, 5 minutes to fix, or less? Probably 3 minutes. Oh, and then number 4, I need to grab 2 wrenches out of my bucket of tools. And let me take you back around again. Number 4 was this. Get you set up here. Here's what number 4 was. I actually want to get you in here a little close and personal. That's too close. There we go. What happened was, and I already fixed this the other day, but one of the dogs, when you're cutting a certain height board, you need to, you know, angle the dog so it's lower on the wood you're working on. So what happened was, the dog wouldn't stay where I put it. It kept falling down into the carriage, and really it was a really simple thing. All I did was put a wrench on here and take the other wrench and turn this. I'm telling you guys, I didn't turn it that far. It was snug. I can still move it. That was the fix. But it was still annoying because every time I would cut, you know, like especially a narrow board, like if I wanted a 2x12 and then I was going to cut it into 2x6s, I needed that dog to stay where I wanted it to stay, and it wasn't staying there. So let's see on my list here, that is number 4. Okay, and then number 5, this was a little bit more what you might want to call complicated, but believe me it was not a big issue. But when you're using the Woodmizer, and probably this goes for any kind of tool, I mean, when you have a tool in your hand, it's like an extension of you, and the next thing you know, you can tell when that tool's not running quite right. So here's what happened here. What you're looking at there, and it's right here, okay, right here is where the 2 channels, or the beams, come together. And when I was originally cutting the smaller logs, like up that way further, Let me just see if I can see what you're seeing. Yeah, when I was doing the smaller logs up the mill further, this wasn't an issue. But every time I'd come over this thing, I could feel this little bump. It wasn't enough to make the log cut or the sawmill cut wrong or anything, but it was just annoying me. I could feel it. So what I did was I put a flap disc, because I didn't want to take away a lot of metal. I put a flap disc on my 4-inch grinder, and all I did was zip, 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 and the next thing you know, it was gone. It didn't take me long. It just was annoying, and I didn't want it to be annoying. I don't like annoyances. So anyway, that was number 5. So like I say, the fix for that was just to slightly grind off that little bit of mismatch. Now you can tell, if you look at the wear pattern there, this width, you are talking about a very little bit of metal there that I had to grind off. You could probably do it with a hand file, but you know, I like my grinder. So none of these things that I fixed, none of them cost me any real money. I mean, you're talking about a screw that I actually had in the shop there, and so it's not a big deal. And for those of you who missed it on my other one, I put the tarp up there, and I'll show you how I fasten the tarp real quick. Let me take the camera off of this stand. What I did was at the top there, I don't know if you can see it. Let me try and zoom in here. Yeah, at the top I put drywall screws with some washers on, and I went through the grommets of the tarp. And then down here at the bottom, wherever the grommet was going to be, all I did was put an eye bolt in there, right? And then I put this R-clip to hold this in place. And it seems to do a pretty good job, because we had a really bad windstorm the other day, and it was holding the tarp in place really nice. Now, I don't think this is my end-all and be-all fix for this thing. I think that somehow or another I'm going to do something else here. But for now, I'm satisfied with that, because I don't want to spend any more time on this thing. I have other things that I gotta do to get ready for winter, and I want to do them. And I have some vehicles I need to fix as well. So anyway, guys, also let me just put this camera back down again. Let's let you have a view of this stuff. That's Bullseye over there coming out of his door. He has a door over in his kennel here that he can open and close by himself. Alright guys, so that's pretty much it as far as the repairs go, and those are the things that were wrong with it. Now, would I buy this sawmill again? In a heartbeat. Does these little things bother me? They're annoying, but I would definitely recommend this sawmill. I really like it. Other than changing motor oil, and I blew out the air filter the other day, these are not problems. You know, when I talk about the money end of everything and how I want this to pay for itself, it has done that just with cutting the red oak that's in the kiln. It's done that, so I don't have to worry about that anymore. Now this sawmill is mine. It was paid for by something else, and that's the end of that. So anyway, on another note, since talking money seems to get some attention on this channel, I wanted to add this little tidbit. And I was thinking about calling these talks, because I really love talking about this, and I'm thinking about calling them the wood nickel section of my YouTube channel videos, I guess. So anyway, here goes. I'm not a horse trader, okay? In other words, I don't dicker about price. Not from me to the customer, and not from the salespeople to me transactions. I always felt like my price is what it is, and your price is what it is, and I just incorporate it into the deal. I've always been like that from a kid on up. I don't like horse trading. To me, it's I mean, it's dehumanized. It does something to me. It makes me feel like, you know, I can't afford something when in reality I'm not buying it. I'm making my business pay for it, and it can afford stuff as long as you do the math. So anyway, I've always been like that. But I want you to know that there's real merit and sometimes a good savings if you are the type of person who is a good horse trader. My wife is, my throat's getting a little weird this morning. My wife is that kind of person. And I'm going to tell you a little story about this. When I bought my last pickup truck, I also bought her an SUV. I came out of the dealership with my keys to the truck. But because we were buying two vehicles, we had two salespeople. So when my wife came out of the dealership, she came out with hats, mugs, pens, note tablets, a refrigerator magnet with the dealership logo, and a DVD that told all about the new options on her vehicle. She thinks I'm crazy for not going after better deals, and I think she's crazy for driving the salespeople nuts. And also, when we went to buy this Woodmizer, I went into Woodmizer, I gave them the check, I said to the guy, is it on the truck with the Woodmizer? He said yes. I walked out and got in the truck. Not my wife. I knew what she was doing. She came out with hats, brochures, a DVD on the Woodmizer, and pens with their logo on them. So let me just tell you this, and this all relates to good business. No one person is perfect, and I'm talking about myself here. And like the old saying, two heads are better than one. So if you're starting a small business, then use these gifts. Use them. Realize your wife's unique way of looking at things. Or not just your wife, but anybody you love and trust and who you know wants you to do well in life. Okay? Those are the kind of people you... And they're not always around you. You'd be surprised. Some of your best friends can become jealous over you earning some extra money. So you want to find somebody that you love and trust and who you know loves and trusts you. And whatever their gifts are, I don't care what it is, it might just make things a little better for you. So, in other words, keep your eyes and ears open and listen to what somebody has to say. Because don't forget, you may know how to build stuff. You may know how to cut wood with the Woodmizer. You may know all about the wood. But your mannerism may suck, and your wife may have better manners and may teach you how to deal with people. That's one thing. That's just one example. Another thing is sometimes, you know, I've met some people that are really good-hearted. I'll give you an example. Jim, my buddy. First glance at Jim, first take on him when he opens his mouth to somebody that doesn't know him is, holy crap, this guy's a little crazy. But really, when you talk to him and you get to know him, you find out just how good the guy really is. So use this to help you get going in business. And don't forget also, those are the consumers. You're not the consumer of your business. Everyone else is. So the consumer is the one who determines. You know how they say the customer is always right? I don't agree with that. But, you know, the consumer is the one you need to cater to. And that's the one you need to find out, you know, what they want from you. Do they want firewood wrapped up in little packages, or they want it dumped on the lawn? And, you know, you need to react to those things to keep yourself in line with doing well with your business. And these stories I'm telling you are small, but believe me, my wife and I have dealt with millions of dollars over the years, and my no-nonsense approach and her, wait a minute, how much do you appreciate our business approach, she has saved us thousands and thousands of dollars. And let me tell you, anyone that brought their kids into our business place got a discount because my wife loves kids. So, you know, this is part of being human, recognizing we're all in this planet together and got to try to make things work. Now, don't take that for me being a softy, because I'm not. And like I said, I'm no sissy. But anyway, okay, so one other thing while I'm on the subject. When I built the house where I live, So you're talking about, you know, this garage. I built that garage first so I could store my tools to build the rest of the place because I was living 200 miles from here. And then I built the house, and then I built the garage. So when I did that, I needed to have the lumber, and since I was 200 miles away, I didn't have, you know, easy access to the wood. So what I did was I went over to the local lumber place here, and I figured this is a good way to get to know people. So I handed the local lumber guy, after I gave him my list, I handed him a check for $18,000 for the framing materials and roofing and stuff like that. To this day, now I built this in 2003, to this day they don't know my name when I go there. I don't like that. So I only buy there when it's convenient. I don't go there, that's not my first choice. I go to Lowe's, and I'll tell you why I go to Lowe's. Now you might think that Lowe's is impersonal, but once I got to know the people that opened up the new Lowe's, one of the Lowe's clerks, her boss was talking to her, and she said, "Have you met Joe here?" And you know, he said no, and she introduced me, and she says to him, "He is what's known as job security." And the reason she said that is because I spent 50 grand, I think 2 years ago at Lowe's when I started building. Well, not that much. I probably spent around 30, I guess. Yeah, 30,000 when I started framing the house out up there, that White House that I showed you. So that's what she called me, job security. Well, that felt good, and then that she remembered me and introduced me to her boss. Yes, those people come and go, but that's not the point. The point is that someone there recognized this as a good thing, and I appreciate that. So in my business then, I make it a point to know my customers' names and some of their family members. Now that's not that I'm drooling all over them, acting like a nitwit, you know, trying to, hey, Mike this, Mike that, Mike the other thing, whatever their name might be. It's a matter of, you know, being cordial, being polite, getting to know them, getting to know their wants, their how much they can afford, you know, what they're looking for. You get to know that about a customer. And just because somebody comes in there to the business and always is looking for something inexpensive does not mean they're not good customers. It means that they're thrifty, and that's how you have to look at it. Do not look down on other people, because you don't know what their situation is, and you don't know where you're going to be in 20 years either. So this is important. But anyway, I know their names. I know their family members' names if I can. And the way I look at this is building a bond and friendship helps people to trust you, and you get to trust them. The hard part about this is sometimes you might lose a little. In other words, you know, when you have friends, they expect a little better treatment, and rightly so. But it makes for a lasting friendship, and that's good for your business and your personal life. I am not all about money and business. I'm also about personal life. I love family. You know, things don't always work out with family. Family can be a pain. They're worse than the worst customer I've ever had, because, you know, sometimes they expect things from you that they have no right to expect. But that's beside the point. So you build these relationships, okay? And it makes for, like I said, a lasting friendship, which is good. And it helps you personally. I remember having estimators when I would make a mistake that worked for me on 2 projects or so. Or they'd actually make a mistake or 2 on projects that cost me plenty. And the relationship I had with the customers made me eat those losses. But to this day, I don't begrudge those people or those times. I cherish them as a gift. And the reason I say that is, I'm not talking about giving away the farm here. But mistakes happen. And your reputation for knowing what you are doing has to be earned and learned. And sometimes it's done the hard way, by pulling your wallet out and emptying your wallet. Let me tell you something. There were many, many times when I was in business where my payroll was met and my wife and I didn't have a paycheck that day. This is when I was very young. So, you know, it takes a while to get going, but I always made sure that those things got taken care of. And it's hard, but like I say, you learn to deal with this, and sometimes it's very difficult. You know, when your wife sees you handing out checks to all your people, and she's looking for her check, and honey, I'm sorry, there isn't any this week. You know, that's when you learn to eat tomato soup, and I like tomato soup anyway. But that's when you learn to eat crackers. That's when you learn that you need to do more thinking. Okay, you need to think more about this. So, anyway, like I said, with your reputation, when I said it has to be earned and learned, and knowing what you're doing, the people you deal with expect you to know how to calculate lumber, or whatever it is. They expect you to know how to make furniture. If you have a sign out there, furniture made, they expect you to know how to do this. And as consumers, they may not know how to make furniture, but they know what furniture should be like, or wood, or any car parts. It doesn't matter. They know what they should be like in this country. So that's what we should strive to make them be. And also, once you've gone through all this stuff, you'll find out that those friendships that you've made over the years can last as long as 30, 40, 50 years with some people. They just never forget something you did. And not only that, but as crazy as this may sound, if I sat down and did, and I really keep good records, guys. I keep good personal financial records, and I keep good business records. If I were to sit down and add it all up, I would find out that the money somehow always came back to me, no matter what. It just does. So it's not so bad to, you know, give a little. I'm not saying to have your wife and kids starving. I'm saying sometimes somebody needs a helping hand, and you may be the one that can do it. So it humbles you a little bit, but go do it anyway. So at this point, I'm going to really confuse you now with what I'm going to add to this thing. And after I'd get a lecture like this talk we just had, when I'd get this, something like this from my grandpap and my dad, this is what they'd say to me after that, right before I left. Remember, half a pie is better than no pie. I'm going to let you guys think about that. Have a good one, guys. Bye.